Midnight in Mumbai never really sleeps. Outside, the rain warps the city's neon into jagged streaks of red and blue. But high up on the 12th floor, the silence in Mira's apartment is absolute. She's working late into her first week at Nexus Data Security when a notification breaks the quiet. An anonymous sender has dropped a message into her inbox that feels like a cold weight in her chest. The message is a countdown. She has until 11:45 p.m. tomorrow to walk away, or she'll meet the same fate as Ria, her best friend, whose death was ruled a suicide 6 months ago. Attached to the email is a file she was told was a routine client audit, Project Shadow.exe. The corporate safety of her new desk has vanished. Mira is now on a ticking clock, where the trauma of her past and the reality of her new career have violently collided. A heavy knock at the door shatters her focus. At this hour, on this floor, there is no reason for a visitor. It's Vikram, the new neighbor who moved in across the hall 2 days ago. He's tall and calm, but the tension in his eyes suggests he knows exactly what kind of night she's having. He holds out a damp scrap of paper he found slid under her door. Scrawled in red are 3 words: "I am watching you." Vikram stares at her laptop screen and recognizes the file name instantly. He identifies Project Shadow as the most classified, dangerous secret inside the Nexus servers. The threat has moved from the screen to the hallway. Mira has to decide in seconds if this stranger is her protector or just another part of the trap. They take the emergency stairs, avoiding the elevators that can be tracked and stopped. Down in the parking garage, every shadow looks like a watcher, and every echo sounds like approaching footsteps. As they pull away from the curb, Vikram explains his real motive for being there. Ria was his sister, and he's been following the digital trail she left behind before she died. This diagram shows the true scope of the project. This AI bypasses standard security, creating backdoors into every microphone, camera, and personal device in range. The software harvests private data from the elite, feeding a centralized database designed to fuel a global blackmail network. Mira is attempting to outrun a machine built to predict human behavior, a surveillance network that turns every street camera into a searchlight for her hunters. A black SUV swerves directly behind them, and then a sudden electronic pulse triggers a blackout. The car's lights, dash, and engine die instantly, leaving them blind in the rain. Hiding in the back seat as the SUV prowls past, the proximity between Mira and Vikram shifts. In the terror of the dark, the line between an alliance and something deeper begins to blur. They abandon the car, sprinting through narrow alleys and into the rusted shell of an old warehouse. The only sound is the rhythm of the rain on the corrugated roof. Vikram reveals the final piece of intelligence Ria sent him. The man who orchestrated the project and Ria's death is Mira's own boss, Rahul Mehta. Rahul Mehta hand-picked Mira for this job, calculating that her closeness to Ria would eventually draw out the data Ria had managed to hide. High-intensity floodlights suddenly bathe the warehouse in a blinding white glare. Rahul Mehta stands at the center of the floor, flanked by 3 armed men. Rahul explains that he used Mira as live bait, knowing that the person holding Ria's stolen data would eventually try to save her. The talking ends when Rahul raises his weapon. Vikram dives in front of Mira just as the gun fires. Seeing Vikram collapse triggers a desperate, focused rage in Mira. She uses the heavy shadows and the warehouse machinery to strike back, disarming Rahul in a chaotic, close-quarter struggle. Mira secures the weapon and pins Rahul down as the police sirens finally grow loud enough to drown out the rain. The architect of the project is finally in the light. 3 months later, the city is a distant memory. A small cabin in Himachal Pradesh is surrounded by a heavy, silent blanket of snow. Vikram's wound has healed into a permanent scar. They have found a version of peace here, far away from the servers and the corporate towers. But the peace is fragile. Mira still finds herself standing at the window, checking the tree line for shapes that aren't there. Stopping one man didn't delete the architecture of the AI. The capability for total surveillance remains in the world, a digital ghost that can never be fully erased. They survived the physical chase, but the feeling of being watched has become a part of her. The shadow of the Nexus isn't a person or a company. It's the knowledge that, in a connected world, you are never truly alone.